Kevin Fishbain is joining us right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Suzy Shuster and Colleen, Wolfe, Sarah, Tiana. I mean, we just saw, and let me explain to you as we come back. We just saw a questionable video of guys getting kicked in the ball. So as I come to you and say, how about that for an intro? How about I use that as an intro for you? Wow, did Chicago just take it with the Seth Wickersham story that came out yesterday about Caleb Williams? And my question for you is, number one, your thoughts on it. But right away, I think to myself, why did they interview Cliff Kingsbury and then leave Matt Eberflus in when they could have had Caleb Williams' coach in there to take him through, to put an offensive-minded coach there for him?
Yeah, they had a lot of options and they picked the worst one. There was a lot of different things they could do. And, when I was reading that Seth Wickersham excerpt yesterday, and like you guys know, Seth's the best. I mean, he is an incredible reporter. I'm very excited to read this book. I think you knew if there was going to be a book about the history of quarterbacks and there was a section about the Bears, it probably wasn't going to look very good. And we saw it. And look, every concern, I shouldn't say every concern, but what Caleb Williams and his dad, Carl, the concerns they expressed to Seth Wickersham or people that also talked to Seth, they came to fruition last year, right? Like here, Caleb Williams, sorry, I'm confusing my Bears quarterbacks. Caleb Williams is the third first-round pick by the Bears at quarterback in the last 8 years to have to learn a new playbook for his second season. I mean, that's incredible. Like they drafted Mitch Trubisky, and then they fired John Fox. They drafted Justin Fields. They fired Matt Nagy the next year. They draft Caleb Williams. They fired Matt Eberflus. So Carl Williams and Caleb Williams knew about all this, and they didn't want to be kind of stuck in that same cycle. The Bears committed themselves. They went on this West Coast tour to interview those coordinators. You mentioned Cliff Kingsbury. He could have been an option. And they end up with Shane Waldron. It doesn't work. Doesn't work with Matt Eberflus. We all see what happens. But this is the funny thing about this, is maybe that disaster led them to Ben Johnson. And in a perfect world for the Bears, and nothing's, it's usually not perfect for the Bears, that it will be a footnote and it'll just kind of be something they laugh about, that, hey, it all worked out in the end.
Kevin, the universe works in very odd ways, and I do feel like that is one of the ways that, like, potentially this is a glass half full situation, the way that you're looking at it. But also, Ben Johnson comes with a lot of fanfare, a great resume of what he was able to do in Detroit, and he was the belle of the ball in terms of the coaching hiring cycle this year. So the fact that Caleb Williams, when this came out and when he finally talked to the team and internalized going to Chicago, said, okay, I want to do this, I want to go there, kind of saves himself, obviously, the PR of it all. But now seeing what the team did at the draft and having Ben Johnson there, what do you think that will do for this team, and how different will it look?
It should look a lot different, and I think it's important also to remember what Caleb said. He talked after Ben Johnson's introductory press conference, and Caleb said that he was in his car driving on the highway when he got the call from George McCaskey and Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren about Ben Johnson. He let out a yell. He was very excited. And so this is obviously a quarterback who is looking forward to working with Ben Johnson. He saw what Ben did in Detroit. You talked to all these players, and they kept mentioning, when you thought about the Lions, you thought about them putting up 40 points all the time. And that's something unheard of in the Bears in Chicago, unless you're talking about like 5 pick sixes in a game. So for them to bring in Ben Johnson with, as you mentioned, all that fanfare, and this is somebody who called plays for the best offense in football the past 2 years. You saw what he did with Jared Goff. And you think about what you could do with Caleb Williams, who has a ton of physical abilities. He's still so early in his career. They bulk up the lines. You have Rome Odunze and DJ Moore at wide receiver. You draft Colson Loveland, number 10. Like, there's a lot of reason to think that this could work. Of course, it's Chicago, so it's never that easy. But I think for the Bears to have come away from everything that happened last year, to end up with the coach that was considered the best offensive mind available, is about as good of a way for the Bears to try to move on from that, that excerpt, in a sense, to move on from what that book chronicles. This is what it seems like the best way to do it.
Yeah, so like an exorcism of sorts. Kevin Fishbain from The Athletic joining us right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Does anything linger from this? Does this just evaporate and move on? What do you expect?
It's a great question because I think what stood out to me the most were Caleb's quotes in that excerpt. Like, I think what Caleb's father has thought about the NFL and some of the things he said on the record, some of the things you've read, none of that surprised me. I think reading about Caleb Williams kind of expressing interest in getting traded to the Vikings, but then reading that Caleb walked into Hallis Hall and said, you know what, I want this. I want this challenge. I want to be the guy. I don't know if there's anything to worry about. As I said, I think for the Bears, they read that and they go, yeah, like Caleb understood that this was a mess last year, and now we have the right guy. They hope they have the right guy, and now we can move forward. So I'm very interested to see how Caleb Williams addresses this. As someone who's been in the spotlight his entire football career, he's generally been unfazed by the distractions. I mean, again, you think about what he went through last year. He had two different play callers, two different head coaches in his first year in the NFL. The long losing streak, the Hail Mary, that was tough. And now he can kind of start over. So I don't expect there to be any lingering distractions. I'm curious, like, if Ryan Poles and Caleb Williams have a discussion at some point and talk through some of this at all. But I imagine a lot of this wasn't a surprise to them when they saw it. Maybe the timing of it and to see it in the fashion they did could be, again, just they might have to have some conversations. But I think these guys are in a really good spot right now. And everybody in Chicago, I think that's why Bears fans were so bummed out yesterday, because it's a running joke in town that the Bears won the offseason again, and it's something they're pretty good at doing.
Congratulations!
Yay, an April parade. But Bears fans are like, oh, we have all these good feels, these good vibes. Why you got to ruin our vibes, Seth Wickersham? But they also read in like, we know that. We knew that this was a problem last year, and now fans are thinking, okay, hopefully we have the coach that can and the quarterback that can finally get us out of this mess.
Hey, Kevin, it's Sarah Tiana, big fan. I really want to shift gears because I see your Cubs pennant in the background, and I'm just wondering how you feel about the Pope being a White Sox fan.
Well, above that pennant, Sarah, is actually a 2005 White Sox World Series picture.
I see.
So I'm playing to both sides of town here. And
There you are.
In case before I get people commenting on social media, I do know the Cubs were not in the World Series in 1984. That is a pennant that probably somebody left it on the gift table at my wedding, and I thought it was hilarious. So I appreciate you pointing it out. Listen, I do think though, because that's not why you called. The White Sox are 3-1 since the Pope took over. So we'll see what happens. Cubs Sox this weekend. And as you tell, I'm supporting both teams in town, so that I guess I almost said that so no one can get mad at me, but really this way everybody gets mad at me.
Okay, good answer.
You got to risk it all, though, don't you think? Do you think we should put him on the spot to pick one side or the other?
Pick one side?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of tough being both fans of the Cubs or the White Sox.
You're covering all of your bases, though, and yeah. I appreciate that. You know your audience.
The Cubs are really good this year.
Yeah, one of the first things I ever wrote was for my high school paper, and it was like a confessional that I was a both fan.
Oh, no.
And yeah, so I guess that was like, and this is, so I guess I got like the physical people like making fun of me in the hallways, which was like that version of Twitter maybe back then.
Right.
Yeah.
For being a both fan. But I don't know. I just I didn't know any better. I loved baseball, and my dad told me you could like both. He did that without telling my mom, who's a diehard Cubs fan. So I will say this, my children, I'll put this on the record. My children will be Cubs fans.
Oh, that is telling.
Wow.
Yeah. My wife's a Cubs fan, so that's an easy.
Okay, that's good.
Easy.
I mean, they have a really good team this year. They got King Tuck over there, so let's just hope they don't trade away their best players anymore. That's always the test for the Cubs.
They do have a tendency to do that, or to have good players and then not re-sign them.
Uh-huh.
So.
Kevin, thank you for your time. We can talk Pope with you anytime you want. I mean, the invitation's right here to come back.
Anytime. It's an honor to be on with you guys.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.